Okay, welcome to another recording of Stellaris Apocalypse playthrough. I'm not actually going to do a playthrough right now. What I'm going to do is talk about what I think so far. I've downloaded everything to the latest Apocalypse patch. It's got its own updates going. I've got no mods playing at the moment. I will be, if the guy that did it actually updates the Star Trek Horizon mod, I will definitely be playing that because I'm a Trekkie and I really enjoyed that playthrough where I played as a Star Trek faction. Let's have a look. So I just want to... my thoughts on the game. It's a good game. It's very... they've updated and upgraded and changed so much, it's kind of confusing and frustrating unless you know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I know how to play the game. I know everything about what needs to be done and how and when now, like what all the things do. But there are mathematical equations in the background that the game calculates that I don't understand. So I'll go to load game. So as you can see, pretty much all my saves are from Federation, the Star Trek game. Even these ones where I've created my own species to try them out have been, in the Star Trek universe. So we'll just load. I won't actually play the game. I'll just load it and point out different aspects of the game. So we'll just load this one. I haven't actually come across a space dragon yet. I think I did, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't actually come across it. It was in the sensor range of an ally. It looked like a giant transparent glowing squid rather than this thing. Okay, so my concerns are federations and coalitions and stuff. When you are part of a federation and let's just say you've made friends with your border there, your bordering empire. I became part of a federation of 5 empires including myself, and I couldn't include this one in the federation. Like we were, throughout the beginning of the game, we were trading all the time. So our friendship... What? Okay, our rivals? Okay, well there you go. I didn't even know we were rivals. Okay, their ships aren't red, so we're not at war, so I don't know why we're rivals. But up until recently, we were good friends, and I wanted to have them join the Federation. But obviously, the Federation I've joined now is against them, so we've lost friendship. But again, I'm not entirely sure why. We communicated all the time. I think it wasn't until about a couple of videos back we were constantly in communication. I think it's because I keep, whenever a diplomatic message pops up, I just get rid of it because I don't see the point. But obviously the point is, if you want to keep good relations with your neighbours, you've got to keep trading. Because I stopped trading with everyone because I just couldn't be bothered. So the only reason these people are friendly with me is because we're part of the same federation here. Otherwise, I think everyone in the red doesn't like me. So I'm not entirely sure how to build a big strong federation when you have 2 or 3 allies, and if, like myself, if just one of them has a friend, it won't join because this one doesn't like one of the other 3 allies in your federation. So building federations doesn't seem that easy. You might be saying, well, why are all these members the same federation if it's hard? The only reason this federation exists is because this sleeping empire, or fallen empire, said we're being attacked by an extragalactic force, the Scourge, and because they're a fallen empire, everyone said, this fallen empire said, I'm going to form a coalition to destroy this, and everyone joined them. Now, once this threat is over, I can only assume the Federation's going to fall apart and everyone's going to squabble again. We've been in good tidings with these people because my beginning build was a Federation build, and they were happy that I was peaceful. But I might completely flip the coin and go warrior build. I've maxed out all of these, so I've got the domination, supremacy, and expansion, which helps with colonization. Again, I've got the ascension packs, perks. Geez, I can't talk. And I'm not too impressed with the Colossus project. But then again, I'm not sure if this is affected by the perks you choose or the civics you choose when you first build an empire. But the Colossus options I had were pretty dismal. The amount of resources needed to build it and level you need to have it, you're better off just building a strong fleet and attacking. This is quite useless as far as I'm concerned, unless I play a different build and see what the different types of Colossus do. The ones I got were pretty passive. One built a shield that you couldn't get through around a planet, but I couldn't put it on my own planets. It was on enemy planets. But why would I want to put a shield around a planet and not be able to get it? That doesn't make sense. And then the pacifying effect on my planet just made my population unhappy. So I don't actually know what this pacifist sort of Colossus does. It's quite useless as far as I'm concerned. The mega structures. The sensor array I haven't quite finished building. I'm halfway through the last section of that. Where are we? Yeah, so I'm building the last spires of this, and that's just a half an hour, 15 to 20 minutes away. If I have the game on fast. I don't know what that does, but if it's as good as I think it is, it might be worth, even if it's not worth getting this for the Science Nexus, and I'll explain why. If the sensor array is as clear, has a clear view of the galaxy as I think, it might just be worth it if you're a military build, just so you can see what your empire is up against. The Dyson Sphere, I've built the base for it, but I haven't finished it. I can only assume, like a ring world, over here I've got a ring world, and what it has is 4 sections, and each section is a 25 tile planet. So you can see 5 by 5, 25. I can only assume that the Dyson Sphere is a massive structure. So if a ring world has 4, I could only assume that the Dyson Sphere's got 15 plus planetoid systems on it. But to manage that many planets would just be frustrating. I don't think the game would do that. So I'm assuming it's going to be one planetoid of 25 squares. But on the square, instead of having one mineral, you might have 100 or something like that. You'll have an immense amount of minerals. I can only assume that's the way they're going to do this. Maybe they won't have any sort of bonuses at all, but if you do build a mineral station on there, you'll get a bonus of 100, you know, for each one. I can only assume that's the way the Dyson Sphere finishes. I might do another one of these. I might try to do these every 10 or 15 videos on any game I play. Every 10 or 15 will be what I think so far. And of course, as I go through, each one, as I think so far, will be shorter than the previous because I've already explained everything. So let's see, I got distracted. Again, I'm looking at this. I think you're better off going for a military build because the Federation just seems really hard to maintain. They go to war on civilizations like this guy. We were friends, now we're enemies because the Federations have decided they don't like them. So Federation building is very tricky. Situation log, it's self-explanatory, you know how that works, so it hasn't changed. Oh yes, so your leaders, your scientist leaders, let's have a look. Recruit. So instead of costing influence, they now cost energy. The starting energy is 200. Now this has gone up for me because I've chosen selective breeding, which has doubled the amount of cost per leader. Because I'm not sure what the difference is. Apart from the cost going up, I don't really notice any difference. This is from your Unity mind over matter and transcendence, which brings you to another level of existence, and you can bring back technology for yourself, but it only lasts a short amount of time. So that's where this little symbol comes in. Chosen one is, I think, that can't be the, oh, there you go. So this one can't die. So that's probably one of the only constant, what do you want to call it? Actually, that's not my own. I don't own this one. I own this one. So that must be, actually, what's this? I'm not sure where this one came from. So this one's part of the, no, it's part of my fleet. Chosen one. So where'd this other admiral come from? Why do I have 2 admirals? Okay, I don't know where this came from. I must have gotten this somehow. So this must have come from the Shroud, where it's the only constant, apart from, again, armies, and right at the end here. There we go, Avatar. So this soldier was 10 times stronger than your standard army when I first got it. So you can see it does a damage of 12 to 24, and it has a health of 1400 compared to your standard soldier, which has a damage of 2 to 4 and a health of 200. So this was a like the Immortal Admiral. This one was sent from the Shroud. So they're like the 2 constants, but everything else, if you get it from the Shroud, it lasts for a certain amount of time and then it stops. I was like head over heels in love with this build until I realized that the Shroud doesn't last. It only stays for a certain amount of time, then leaves. So these benefits are not too good. I'm going to do another playthrough where I choose another perk tree. So once you choose this, there's another 2 you can't choose, because this is a transcendent build, then there's a robotic build, and I don't know what the other one was. So as good as this is to give you bonuses throughout the game, they don't last, so it's not really worth it. So we'll go back to the leaders because I keep getting distracted. Yeah, I reckon the costing energy to recruit rather than influence is really good, because energy is one of those things that, as long as you keep building the right buildings, like energy production, as well as energy mines, your energy should always be in the positive. As long as you just keep building energy from the beginning, and then maintain a good mineral production from the beginning, they all kind of feed into each other. So as long as you keep that going, you should be able to recruit a whole heap of these. Like, I've got a 45,000 storage capacity, and I've filled it because I don't use energy all that often. These guys last quite a while. Like, this one's immortal, so I never have to replace. I don't know what happens if the fleet gets destroyed, whether the admiral just goes back to your pool, or they actually can be killed in battle, but they never aged and die. But as you can see, 200 years old and still level 3. I obviously don't do much battling. So, okay. I hate ship upkeep. That's one things I hate. Because, again, if you have the leader die, then your ship upkeep goes up 10%. And then if you're on the brink here, and it goes up 10%, you're going to drop below and get minus. So I really don't like having these, but because this one's immortal, that's actually pretty good. The psychic thing from the Shroud, or the Transcendency, gives you a psychic ability. So this is a constant thing as long as you have the Shroud active, and I don't think you can deactivate it, so it's pretty good. Scientists have a different sort of thing, and governors, I think they have a food production overall. Actually, I'll recruit one just for the sake of it. I'll show you. Unrest and unity output. Don't need unrest or unity because my populations are happy. And as you can see, not all the population has the psychic gift. It's a large portion of your population, but not the whole lot. It's actually pretty good in general. Like, it has help early on. If you can get the Shroud early on, that really helps. But late game, it becomes useless. So that's the leader pool, the science. Science in general, I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I'll get to the mega structures later, but let's see. For each system, I've got 48 systems, you get a penalty of 2% on, so it goes, the cost of the research goes up 2%. For each planet, it goes up 5%. So for each outpost you build on a system to get your resources up, you get a penalty for your research. So you've got to keep it balanced early on, but you've got to build fast early on. So it's really tricky early on, because if you have too many outposts, your research is going to be penalized very badly, and then you won't be able to upgrade your buildings because you can't research the buildings because it takes so long. So you've actually got to pick your resources early, and that's why if you're going to build outposts, you only build the outposts. As you can see, there's 2 and 3 mineral here, 2 and 6. So you wouldn't build an outpost here because it's not really worth it. You'd build it here because you're going to get the 6 minerals, well, 10 minerals, but you're not getting any energy. You're not really getting much energy. For the energy output you get from these systems, you're putting it straight into the mineral production. You want to keep your energy in the plus. So you've really got to find, like this system here, 5 energy, 4 mineral. So you really got to pick your systems carefully early on to build your systems up, and which I think is fair. Like in real life, you just don't go plonks down something and have everything. You actually have to go, oh, see that system's perfect, 8 and 6. Notice how I'm not going through the research, because early on the research modules are going to take energy. They're not important early on. You want to get your energy and minerals up. Once you've got that to a decent level and you can maintain your energy, you can build your research, which will boost you that 2% you lost per system. And then for each planet, and by a planet it means the habitat has 4 planets on it, or the equivalent of 4 planets, the ring world, sorry. And then you can actually build habitats, which are orbital platforms with a colony on it. So each one of those will give you a 5% penalty. But if you build these outposts or habitats and then build nothing but science and energy on there to maintain themselves, that will be more than enough to off-put that 5%. I don't think habitats can take a science vessel as a if I can remember what it's called, and assist research. As you can see, it's plus 27%. Now that starts off as 10, and the only reason I got 27% is because I've been upgrading my technologies. So it's gone from 10% to 27%, but that's one planet. So if you can get all your planets in here, if you just build science vessels purely for that bonus, your science penalty is 5%, but this boosts it by 27%. So that's a 20. My brain hurts. That's a 22% bonus in the long term. In the beginning, it's only a 5% bonus because it's a 5% increase, 10% increase plus the 5% decrease. So science early on is a bit tricky, just because you've got to try to upkeep everything while maintaining a decent population, but not getting too many penalties to your research. So I reckon that's a good fair swap out balanced start. Okay, so planets and sectors haven't changed. If you've ever played the game, planets and sectors haven't changed. Policies, there's more edicts to choose from. There's different ways to pay for them now. Some cost energy, some cost influence, and then once you've researched it, some will cost unity points. Now, normally you'd click on that, and what would happen is it would stay permanently until you unclicked it, and it would cost you like 1 point of influence. But now what it does is you buy it, and it lasts for 11 years. What does it say? Oh, it lasts for 12 and a half years now because of the bonus I got. But with one of these Unity upgrades, it actually doubles the amount of time. So for 25 years, your edicts will last. I am a bit iffy about this. I don't like edicts that end. So look at this one. It drops the consumer goods by 15%. So, you know, that will drop to about 87% or whatever. I'm not good with numbers. But if you don't keep an eye on this, after 12 years, if you're, again, on the brink, that 15% disappears, you go in the red. So I prefer edicts that stay on until you turn them off. I'm more than happy to pay a monthly fee. Like this was 1, and now it's gone up to 240. So I'm more than happy to pay the monthly fee of, say, well, the 10 energy, you know, just pay a monthly fee of 10 energy to keep this going. I'm more than happy to do that. I don't like things that deactivate when you're not ready for it, and then you're in the red because you weren't ready for it. So I don't like this new system of a timed edict. I do like the system where you can actually choose. And what would be better, I think it would just be harder to maintain, is if there were 3 squares here, you can either choose the energy, you know, you could actually choose something. Even if it's, if you're, where is it down the bottom here? Mineral production plus 33%. Even if to activate this, you would have to pay 100 minerals, 100 energy a month to maintain this. I'm more than happy to do that. But this one is only available with the Unity points. But I'm not complaining that it only costs Unity points. I'm just saying I don't like the fact that it's timed. I prefer to have click it and forget about it. It just goes constantly. And I prefer to pay a monthly fee of Unity points. So, you know, I've added a few zeros in behind there. Well, so the Unity fee, the problem with the Unity fee is every time you activate a Unity, it goes up. So the next time, okay, where are we? Yeah, so the next time I buy this, and the next one will be 184,000. It's 147,000. So the next one I activate will be 184,000. But as you can see, I don't use them, and this is going to waste. I'm not using it. I have no need for it. So I'm not complaining that this is Unity only. I would prefer that it was an option to choose between different resources, even minerals. If you like, I'm producing way more minerals than I'd need. So I'm more than happy to pay minerals to fund the education. I'm more than happy to pay a constant monthly fee of 10 energy to maintain this sort of thing. So I don't really like this new ethic thing. These are pretty much the same. You can actually choose what your species does depending on your civic build when you first created your empire. Okay, the difference between this is, as I understand it, is it's empire-wide. So let's just say this entire sector was not producing any energy whatsoever. As long as this is in the green, their sector will be powered, because this is shared between the empire, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's the way I understood the explanation. There might be a penalty where it might take 2 energy instead of 1 to power it, because you've got to send the energy over. I don't know. Minerals are the same. I don't really see how that could be. I don't really see why it matters whether it's empire wide or not, because the upkeep is empire wide. It doesn't really make any difference. I believe the food is empire wide because I'm so far advanced in the food that when I build a new habitat here in any of these sectors, they never build any food for themselves. They always have 12 tiles of population minus 12 food, because the food just comes out of the pool and feeds them. But I like them to be self-sufficient. I would rather have this balanced at like 0 or +1 and have them all got their own food at, you know, 0, where they've got just enough food to feed themselves. I'd rather have each independent planet, each independent platform, each independent habitat have their own food. So that doesn't bother me too much, although when sectors build on their own, they won't build their own food, so you've got to keep an eye on that. It's not a big deal, but yeah. Influence has become quite, I don't know, I'd almost say useless. You need it to build certain things, but you don't need it to maintain anything at all. So this will build up pretty quick. And as you can see, I'm at 1,000. I've got +5. Even though I've got -5 for being in a federation, I've still got +5 because of all the bonuses. So this is early game, it's useful. Mid to late game, it becomes quite useless because you need energy to buy everything. Edicts I don't use. The only reason I'd use an edict is if it was a constant thing. Unity is very good early on. You want to get that up as high as possible early on in the game. But then again, once you've gotten all these sorted out and all these sorted out, you have to. You don't have to, but if you want to get your food, mineral, and energy going, you delete the buildings that produce the Unity. That will give you a bit of energy back. And you can build more energy and minerals, and so mid to late game you can get rid of this, because I think it was between the mid crisis and the end crisis that I filled this out. So it's quite easy, but when you start the game you can actually adjust the amount of Unity you get. I've left it as standard. I think this standard is actually faster than the previous versions, so I think if you want a long drawn out game, you might actually change this. Actually, I'll finish. Once I finish this, I'll go out and show you what I mean when I start a new game. And I won't actually start it, I'll just show you what it does. Research. Nothing's really changed there. Although I am having an issue where I'm pretty sure that I had this at roughly 500, give or take. Might have been the 480 to 500 range. So when I built this mega structure, the Science Nexus, 500 plus 225. It's not adding up. I don't know what happened to that extra 100. When you're building research, it just goes up and up. You upgrade your centers and they get more and more research. So somehow I've lost about 100 here. I've lost about 50, I think, here, because this was a bit lower. And again, this was even lower, so I can't really remember, but I think this is the only one that's actually close to what it was. But this one I lost about 50, this one's I lost about 100. Early to mid game, this is very useful. Late game, when you have a lot of systems, 225 isn't going to make a huge difference. It's not going to be a huge difference at all, so that's a bit useless mid to late game. Late game, early to mid game it's good, late game it's useless. So we'll get back to this one later. I am just almost finishing the sensor array, and I've got the Dyson sphere. I'll do what I think, another what I think video after I finish this, and I'll compare this to the ring world, because with this, to get this one you need the Voidborn, which is the habitat. Now the habitat in itself is brilliant. Like, I would get Voidborn just for the habitat alone, even if I don't get this ever again. Like I said, Science Nexus is good early on, but as you can see, I got this late game. And when I built it, I was very disappointed. If I built it early on, I'll be like, hell yeah, that was brilliant. So, if you're going to build these, you want to get this as early as possible if you want to get your science booming. So, these will probably be the first and then second one. If you're focusing on science, you'd obviously get Discovery and activate that first. And then I don't think it really matters. Prosperity and Expansion are pretty good for building your empire. So building your empire would be good for research. So you'd probably go for one of those two next. And then you'd go for this. If you can get this early on, the only problem is the resources would be so stretched out that you take forever to build it. You'll only have like less than 100 resources. So it would take... I think it's 1,000 to start it off just to get the base done. So you've got to build up to 1,000, and then it's 2,000 for the sensor array, 20,000 per sector for the sensor array, and there's 3 expansions on it, so that's 60,000. So yeah, even if you get this early on, you still got to get your minerals up. So that might not be the next one. You'd build this for the habitats, and then you probably get something else and get that 3rd or 4th once you got your mineral production up. But as you can see, where's the ring world? The ring world is a separate entity on its own. I'm pretty sure that's all you got from that perk. But if the Dyson Sphere doesn't pan out to be anything special, I probably won't get this again. Simply because late game the Science Nexus becomes useless. Early game it's too expensive to build, and mid game you've got resources are going to be all over the place. So that's really an iffy one for the Science Nexus. Haven't quite finished the sensor array, but as I understand the concept, it will give you 100% visual radar of the entire galaxy. So your ships don't need sensors at all. So when you do a ship build, let's just click on a random one. Is it this one? Sensors. You can see that it costs 20 to use, and this one costs 5 to use. So if you're very low on energy, and you want to take this out and put a more powerful weapon on, you build that sensor array. Your ships don't need sensors. I'm not even sure if you... Yeah, I don't think you can turn them off and have nothing, because they need their own sensors for their own immediate vicinity. But, you know, if you want to save energy on your ships, and you've only got like 70 energy, and I'll put this up, it drops down to 55. So the sensor array in general could probably save your ships. I'm not sure if having the sensor array, the ships will upgrade automatically and say, well, I don't need this. I think you'd have to go through every single ship and do it yourself. But for the smaller ships, we'll get rid of this. Plus 24. Let's have a look. That's this one. No, what's this one here? So... Shield and armor. Oh, it just swaps out shield and armor damage. Let's have a look. This is. Oh no, they're very, very weak. Let's have a look. There we go. So your energy weapons, they don't touch the shields, but the armor is wiped out. So if your larger ships have got shield damaging, you can use your corvettes to take the armor out, and then the hull, sort of thing. So when you build your fleet, you've actually got to decide, like, your large ship will stay back and weaken the shields. Your smaller ships will come in and take out the armor. So that's something you want to focus on as well. Which weapons you want to put on which class of ship. So the larger ones are going to be far more powerful. As you can see, I was testing out some builds, and this one doesn't really work out. I think you can only have one Titan per thing. So yeah, this will stay back and destroy the shields, take out the shields of any fleet. And then it will do some hull damage. And then your battleship. That's pretty good. Oh, so you want to probably your battleships, you probably want this weapon all the way through. That is pretty nasty. And then your small ships, because they've taken out the shields, your smaller ships you'll just want to have the armor and hull damage weapons, sort of thing. Okay, so what was I doing before I got distracted by that? Oh, sensors. From sensors to building a ship. That's how distracted I got. So the sensor array, if it covers the entire galaxy, it might be worth it. But again, it's going to cost a lot of money to build. It's a mid to late game sort of thing. The Science Nexus is more expensive. That's a late game sort of thing, just because the build requirements. And the Dyson Sphere is 50,000 per sector, per attachment. There's 4 of those. So each of them start off with 1,000 base. The sensor array has 3 upgrades, which are 20,000 each. The Science Nexus has 3 upgrades, which are 30,000 each. And the Dyson Sphere has 4 upgrades, which are 50,000 each. So if you can't even save 50,000 credits, you probably won't even bother collecting this if the only thing you want is the Dyson Sphere. You probably leave that to later when you can actually get 50,000 credits saved up. Now, this is just base storage. I haven't actually increased my storage capacity with star bases, and I think it's 2,500 for both of them. You can't put a 5,000 one for this and a 5,000 one for that. It's 2,500 for each storage capacity. I don't think it affects the food at all. I'm pretty sure it's just those two. So if you haven't got 50,000, you have to build 2.5. You'd have to build 40 of these just to get 10,000 storage. So it's not really worth it. you're probably going to wait till you can get this on your own for the Dyson Sphere. But again, I'll do what I think when I get to the Dyson Sphere. Okay, so yeah, well, this is where we're up to. Oh, I think I bypassed this because of all that. I'll have to do a different video on this. I'll probably have to start a new game and do a what I think of these once I've used the different trees to see what they do, and I'll save that last one for the what I think video because I'll have these set up. I've already used these. Oh, wait a minute, is this the one? I think you have to have this, which I can't remember. I just remember that a lot of these were locked until you did certain things. So again, you can increase your research speed by 10%, but I think that's a standalone, nothing else adds to it. Terraforming costs, in the end, I didn't even bother terraforming because there's a trait you can get to species. You can actually change, create a template. You can actually change all the species to a specific thing. So create a template. Now, if I apply this template, I can change this entire species to continental. So this perk here was quite useless in the end. Apart from if you want to create Gaia worlds, that's the only reason you'd use it. But with happiness, habitability, upgrades, Gaia worlds wouldn't be that useful. Unless there's some sort of bonus I'm unaware of for having a Gaia world in general, it's not really worth it. That in itself is worth it if you want to colonize more star systems but don't have the planets to colonize. You'd build a whole heap of these, which is what I'm doing in my current playthrough. I'm not sure. I've got to check how long when I started filming. This hasn't changed at all. If you've ever played, you know that as long as the planets planetary bodies you run are less than this within a star system. So this here classes as 4 planets, but because it's in the one system, I've got the Earth system and the ring system. I've only got 2 systems, not 5 planets. So it's not 5 of 10, it's 2 systems of 10 systems. Also in this too, these habitats are actually in the Sol system. So I've actually got 9 planetary bodies within the Sol system. So 2 systems, 9 planets, but it only takes up 2 of 10. Then each sector can have 10 planets within it. And this can be upgraded with technologies. Let's have a look. Starbase capacity, which will bring this up to 28. Edict durations, so instead of being 12 years, it will be 13, you know, it just goes up at 10%. Fleet command limit, so this affects how big your fleets can be. This will bring it up 10. Naval capacity, your overall empire build. Food capacity, I think I was doing, yeah, I'm doing this one, it's already halfway through. This is armor. I always go for armor because the weapons are pretty powerful and I just want to upgrade the armor. I haven't done the robots yet because my current build doesn't allow freedom of robots, and that just creates a uprising. I can research it and just not build the robots. I've actually turned the robot option off for the sectors. For the sector build, I've actually turned the build robots off. So I might actually build robots next just to get that off the list, so that the 5 options are more focused on. See, the weapons damage and weapons fire rate, craft damage and fire rate, armor, and then there's kinetic weapons. No, rockets. So this is kinetic, and then there's rockets that have a fire rate and fire damage. So there's 2 more there. There's 1 more and 1 more. So if I get rid of this, there's the option that the armor will pop up again. So there's 5 slots, but there's like 7 or 8 different things you can research. So if I want this to be more common in my research, because this is what I want to focus on, I have to research this to get rid of it. But this unlocks another path of different robot options. So I'm more than happy with the research. It hasn't changed at all. You've got more options in there, I think, overall. Yeah, because the armor can upgrade on a specific ship. So that's pretty good. I like the research tree as it is. It's pretty good. The only thing I don't like about the research tree is you can see what you've researched, but I like to, if you know what I'm talking about for a research tree, I like to see the branches and what this leads into next. I like to see where that's going. This game's never had that. I'm fine with that. I pretty much know from playing the game, if I research this, what will come next. I know what's going to happen from playing it. Planets and sectors, starships. This is good, but at one point I had this at like 100, and my fleet capacity was 120. So even though I could have a fleet of 120, my overall naval capacity for my empire was 100. So I couldn't actually reach the 120 without going over my empire limit, which would give me a penalty. So really, before you upgrade this, you want to make sure that this is upgraded as far as possible, because you might be able to upgrade this 2 or 3 times in a row, and this upgrade in the science tree might not show up for 3 or 4 turns. So you've got to upgrade this as soon as possible, especially if you're a military build, because you want that high. Star bases I'm not using a lot of. I didn't this is the first time I'm playing this new Apocalypse upgrade. I didn't realize exactly what these did. Now that I've upgraded a few and seen what they can do, let's have a look. Energy credits, producing 9 energy credits, times that by 6 modules, and one of these, another 2. So I think it starts off at 4 energy, but with upgrades to your technology, your energy output goes up, plus you can upgrade certain things. Okay, so if you wanted to do, again, this would be my energy production. So I just build every single star base. You upgrade an outpost to a space station, then a star base, then a star fortress, then a citadel. If I just upgraded everything to a citadel and made this all energy production, this would just shoot through the roof. You know, I don't think there's a mineral production. The only mineral production is in nebula clouds. So I'm not sure if I did it here. I think I didn't have the option for it, so I built other stuff. But oh no, see here it is. It produces 6.25 minerals from the actual nebula cloud. But as you can see, I haven't finished building all my energy. Blah blah blah, yada yada yada. I've got the game on pause. I'm not actually going to play, so it doesn't really matter. But once I start playing again, I'm going to have to do that. So your star base is extremely important. You can have a complete military build. So if you build shipyards, if you want a shipyard on the outskirts of your empire to build ships really fast, you can build. I'll cancel that. How do I click on it? You can build constant shipyards. Now, it doesn't build ships 4 times as fast. It will build 4 ships in one go. As long as you've got the minerals to maintain it, it will build 4 ships at a time. 6 in general, you know, 6 star bases. And then here, you can upgrade. So dock ships, this is another thing I don't use, crew quarters. Because if you're on the brink, and then your ships leave that dock, you're 25% down in the red. So I only, and here, this is the resource silos I was talking about earlier. Nebula refinery can only have 1, I think. Or can you have more? What's this saying? Building already built. Oh, building already built. Okay. So you're going to have 1. But 2 energy for 6 mineral. 1 for 3 is awesome. But then again, you can actually just. There are certain things here you actually have to have one of these to actually build some of these. Starbase has. So I haven't actually. Yeah, so I haven't actually built a shipyard, so I can't actually build this. But I think there are some of these you can't build. You build these to build something. No, actually no. Yeah, so some of these, like Anchorage, You have to build this to build some of the military buildings, shipyard, anchorage. There you go. Naval capacity. So you can increase this by 6. And again, I'm not sure which one was it. I got distracted. I'm not sure if you can build 4 of these here for one of those anchorage. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, I would assume. Actually, let's see. Anchorage. Even though it hasn't built, it might actually... No, you have to build it before it actually shows up. But, you know, you can increase your fleet. So if you're going for a military build, you'll build a whole heap of these sort of star bases in your back corner where your fleet can... so if you do get attacked, your fleet bonus won't drop. You build them in the back corner, and you build up your fleet, and then you can do that. But like I said, I'm focusing this purely on energy output. So if I upgrade all my star bases... this one here, what's the maintenance? Does it actually tell me what the maintenance on this thing is? It doesn't actually tell me what the maintenance will be. But that is up here. Maintenance on station upkeep is 9. Starbase upkeep is 96. So I don't even have a lot of star bases, but the upkeep is 96. So I've got 1, 2 citadels, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 space stations that aren't even fully upgraded. So they cost more than 10 energy. So 11 energy per starbase at least to maintain it. And that's why you've got to keep your energy up. So if you can get your energy up and then build these into energy stations, 4 by 6 and then plus another 2, it's going to maintain itself in another starbase. But in general, it'll keep your energy up. So starbases are extremely versatile. You can have them purely for energy production, purely for storage, purely for shipbuilding, purely for keeping your fleet levels up. So I like this build here. But the only thing you got to worry about is that maintenance cost. Because if you look here, the only thing that costs you maintenance in minerals is ships. That's the only maintenance in the Empire. Then you've got the consumer goods, which you can keep down by certain technologies, certain traits in your Empire. So what you have to really focus on is making sure that your energy output is extreme. It powers everything else. Energy powers everything. Then you've got to keep your minerals up compared to your fleet. That's the only thing you really got to worry about. Consumer goods screwed me over because that was one of the things I chose, that they were wasteful, because I didn't realize how bad that was. So you really got to go through your make sure that your setup is good. You don't want wasteful. Anything that costs minerals, you want to keep that down, just in general. Fleet maintenance. If you're going for a military build, you keep your civics right would keep your minerals down. You'd allow robots to build, because robots output a lot of minerals. That's the sort of thing you'd look at. Resources. I think they're more clustered now. Like my Empire has a whole heap of urantic crystals, and only one or the other. And the Zorro, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I've got 2 of, but I think I'm buying that from another Empire. So they're more clustered. So I think you'll have 5. You can trade one resource for another at another Empire, because you can only use one of those. Let's see. Weapons damage. Now it's not going to go up 75, 50 and 25. Yeah, 75. Your weapons damage won't go up 75%. It will go up 15%, and then you trade the other 4 off, and you can trade that for any of the other resources that I haven't got. And what that will do is you'll trade one of these off, or another Empire will ask for that in return for minerals and stuff. So this is more important. I'm pretty sure, like, it wasn't clustered and it wasn't spread out in the last game, but this is more clustered, I think, from the last game. But then again, my empire, because I screwed up the beginning, my empire's a lot smaller than I usually have it at that point where all the others met up. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy overall with the game. Mega structures, I'm still learning about those. Again, once I finish building the Dyson Sphere, I'll compare that to the Ring World and see if it's worth having both, just for the sensor array and the Dyson Sphere. And again, the science array, once you get to a certain level of science, that science array becomes sort of useless, because you're going to be outputting a lot more than that. That'll be just like a small percentage of your total output. So again, I think overall the science center is a bit, science nexus is a bit iffy. The sensor array, if it's as clear, like if it gives you a 100% clear image of every single star system and every single fleet in the Empire or the galaxy, and you're a warrior build, that will might be very useful. And depending on how that Dyson Sphere is actually laid out, I'm not sure. Overall, I really enjoy the game. I am extremely frustrated though, because my military fleet, it's gone back up to 104. Now it was 106 a while back. I haven't increased it in about over 100 years. I haven't increased my fleet. In fact, I've made it smaller. It went from 106 all the way down to 86. Now it's back up to 104, and I haven't actually done anything with it. This keeps bouncing around, and I'm not 100% certain why. I think it's got something to do with the shroud. I think it's down the bottom. Nope, it might not be T for the... Okay, the shroud. Now this is an extra plane of existence that you can enter and bring back a bonus. Now, I don't know what bonus I've got activated at this point. I think it was evasion. No, not evasion. Where's evasion? I'm not sure. I think I've got evasion bumped. But evasion doesn't bump your damage output. It bumps your armor. So that shouldn't have affected my fleet. So I've actually posted a message to someone who knows a lot about Stellaris, and hopefully they'll get back to me. And if they do, I'll get back to you, or post post a link to his video if he does a video on it, so that he can explain it. His name's Aspec, A-S-P-E-C. I'm pretty sure he's part of the production team of Stellaris, because he knows everything about it. Either he's a part of the production team, or he's done such good videos that the Stellaris group has actually said, you know, you do good videos, we'll have you part of our group as a official vlogger. I'm not entirely sure. But overall, so far with the game, I'm happy. I'm a little disappointed because I can't comprehend why I'd be plus 100 and then all of a sudden I'd be minus 50. And I haven't actually done anything. I actually lost about, I think it was 200 on one of these. I went from being plus 100 to minus 100. I've got no idea what happened. The ship upkeep, I wasn't building any fleets. My population was growing, but not that fast that it would drop 200 points in a single month. Like, nothing could be that like that. Again with this, upkeep. Even if I was building a lot, it wouldn't drop 200 points in a month. It would take a couple of years to drop 200 points. So the calculations in the background seem to be off. I don't know what's going on in the background, that this can jump up and down 20,000 hit points. This can jump up and down 200. So I can be in the positive and then all of a sudden be in the negative and not understand why. That's my only concern, but that might just be some bug or something the internal calculation of the game miscalculated and it just bumped it. But the game's only been out a week. I'm assuming they're getting bug reports and feedback, and that's going to change whatever happened here and here. But I'm not 100% certain. I'm happy with the game so far, and I'll I'll exit out, exit the desktop. Yep. So how long is this video? Whoa, 55 minutes. I'm going to end this right here. I'm just going to end off by saying these are the games I can play at the moment. If you've got suggestions for games, I'm willing to take them. If you have any comments on how to make my channel better, I'm willing to read any comments. Please just give it civil in the conversation bar, and I'll see you in the next video.